Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We are on episode 3 now of Sev Geff Live. I'm Paul Severino. That is Glenn Geffner. Geff, how you doing, pal?
Doing great. Good to do this again. Very excited to have another great guest today. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, and slowly but surely, I know I feel like I have to keep apologizing for our technical glitches, but I said this before. I'm like a mediocre play-by-play guy at best, and I am no director or producer or EVS operator or anything. So we're doing the best we can. Hopefully this...
Well, I think you're doing a heck of a job.
Thank you.
You're doing a heck of a job.
And you're paid to say that, so I appreciate that, buddy. We got a fun show today coming up. We have a very special guest, don't we?
We do indeed. Former Marlin Tom Koehler just announced his retirement from baseball this spring. Very popular Marlin. He got up in September of 2012, stayed with the team until around the deadline in 2017 for a good chunk of that time. Was a huge part of the Marlins starting rotation. Won a lot of games here, so it's going to be fun to catch up with TK. Awesome.
So, again, it's just some business to take care of here off the top. A lot of different ways, or really a couple, maybe one way, to get involved with the show here via Twitter. It's at Sev Geff Live. If you have questions, comments, you want to get involved somehow, some way, hashtag Sev Geff Live. And then actually, Geff, this is a fun day too. It's a Tuesday, and I understand that on 940 Wins on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's 6 o'clock, right? You guys are doing some fun stuff, right?
This is kind of like a pregame show. If you head over to 940 Wins and we're done, the Marlins flagship radio station, every Tuesday and Thursday night, beginning tonight, for the foreseeable future at least, we're going to replay a classic game in Marlins history. We're going to add some analysis and commentary. So tonight, for example, some of the games go all the way back to 1993, the inaugural season, but tonight we're turning the clock back just to last June 4th. We were in Milwaukee. The Marlins were in the midst of probably their best stretch of the season a year ago, and they had a big club record 11-run inning in the 5th against the Brewers that night. Won the ball game 16-0 behind Garrett Cooper and Miguel Rojas, Pablo Lopez on the mound. So 6 o'clock tonight, 940 Wins. You'll get some additional commentary from me over the course of the broadcast. Should be fun.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. And my friends over at Fox Sports Florida, they're doing something similar as well and have been for the last week or so. But an added little bonus to it, too, lately is that they're having someone from the broadcast family. I think it was Kelly Sacco earlier today. I'm doing it on Thursday. We're going to live tweet during the noon airing of a game from last season. So I've got the game. Let me see here. It was a game against the Cubs in May. John Birdie hit his first big league home run. So right, that's right. So I'll be live tweeting during that game on Thursday on the Fox Marlins Twitter feed. And before we get to our guest, Tom Koehler, who is waiting in the wings very patiently, Geff, I just want to throw this out for those that want to chime in as well to our question of the day. And I always leave it to you because you're the genius behind these questions of the day. So what is our question of the day today?
All right, well, I threw it out on social media this morning. Among the many things that we ought to be enjoying right now is the NCAA basketball tournament. So our question of the day was, what all-time Marlin would you have liked to have seen suit up for your favorite college basketball team? And got a lot of responses on that one. We'll run through some of them. Maybe we'll ask TK, who he'd think ought to be out on the hardwood for Stony Brook. But Mark Hendrickson seems to be getting a lot of support. The guy did play in the NBA, so you can understand that. Had a great 4-year run at Washington State. We'll talk about that a little bit more, though.
All right,
let's get later in the show.
That's right. We're looking forward to that. Again, at Sev Geff Live to give your feedback on that. All right, time to welcome in our guest, a very esteemed guest, as it were. Tom Koehler is joining the show right now. Tom, thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate it. How's everything?
No, thanks for having me, guys. This is a cool little thing you got going here. I didn't know how to use Skype. I didn't know it was still a thing. So thanks for having me dust off the gateway and my little webcam that you have to plug into the USB for the show.
Well, we appreciate you figuring it out, TK.
Absolutely. This is great. Yeah, we're just trying to figure out different ways to engage with the fan base that loves you quite a bit, I'm sure.
I got a lot of respect for the fans here. They kind of took me in and always were behind me through the good and the bad times, you know. So like for not an all-star, I always felt like when I was on the mound, they were pulling for me hard and showing up to the ballpark and having them outside, and it was definitely a special time in my life. And like I miss a lot of those people because you actually, the one thing about Miami where they're not always being 35,000 people is you start to almost get to know some of the fans.
Right.
I'm sure you guys see them around the ballpark, like the season ticket holders and stuff. So it's a little different
right now.
It's a little different than playing elsewhere. So like you actually, you get to see them every day because you're not, when you're walking through the crowd and you're leaving and you're going, I don't know if you guys still walk out that way to get to the parking lot.
Yep.
You're seeing them. So it's a little bit different of a relationship.
Well, they followed you throughout the minor leagues, and I think one of the reasons people really appreciated you, Tom, was you weren't a first-round pick who had a lot of things handed to you. You were an 18th-round pick. You grew up in the Northeast, not in the South. You went to Stony Brook, not a traditional baseball power. You were a guy who had to earn everything you got, the promotion from A-ball to AA, AA to AAA. You had to earn it every year trying to stay in the big leagues, and I think people really respected that and appreciated that. We last saw you in July of 2017, and Marlins fans know what you did wearing this uniform. But can you take us through what the last couple of years have been like for you since you left Miami? Because we haven't heard your name a lot, and I know it's been a real uphill struggle for you.
It has. It's been tough, honestly. I went to Toronto, had a great time there. Really enjoyed playing in that city. I've only been there one time as a visitor before that, so didn't have a lot of experience in the city, but the fans there were great too. And kind of I transitioned into a one-inning, 1+ like kind of high-leverage reliever there. Had success and signed with Los Angeles, and then I got hurt my second game of spring training. I don't think I necessarily hurt it that spring training. I think it was kind of years of driving on a flat tire. The rim finally blew off, and since then we tried to go no surgery and rehab back, and I threw my bullpen right before going on my rehab assignment, and it went for good and led to the surgery, and it's just basically been in rehab mode since beginning of 2018, and then Pittsburgh gave me an opportunity last year to rehab back, and with the chance to come in the spring this year and make the team. And after my second live BP, it wasn't working out, and the arm just wasn't feeling good, and they were talking about probably needing a shutdown and a rehab process again, and just, that was enough for me. Like I got a lot more out of this game than I think I thought I would in the beginning. So I realized now, like, it wasn't fair to my family anymore to just constantly be rehabbing and being stuck in that cycle of chasing my tail. Maybe it worked and maybe I would have pitched for 3 more years, but I'm very comfortable in my decision.
What do you think will be next in this next chapter?
Well, I was coaching 5-year-old softball, or helping coach, and I was probably a little too intense for that level. Now I'm a homeschool teacher because my kids can't go to school. So as far as, I definitely want to get back in the game in some capacity. I'm not really sure in what way yet. I'm trying to kind of take a deep breath and see let the dust settle a little bit, and then kind of deciding which route I want to go. I feel like I have a lot to offer in baseball moving forward. Whether or not it's, working for a team in their development side, or coaching, or front office, or, joining one of you guys in a booth or radio. Like, I've been told I have a face for radio, so it might be easier to go that route. But, I definitely, I've got a lot of ideas in my head. Whatever it is, I want to be 100% committed to doing it. So I'm trying to wait till the opportunities present themselves a little bit, and then I can kind of funnel from there.
Guys talk a lot when they're in the moment about how hard it is to reflect and think about the journey they've traveled to get to the big leagues, to establish themselves, to stay here. Have you had the chance in the last few weeks, the last month, to really look back and reflect on what this journey's been like for you?
Honestly, like, since I've been rehabbing for the last 2 years, I've had a lot of time to just sit and think, period. Because I wasn't playing. So, and then being out in Los Angeles and hurt rehabbing, I got to watch. I was watching a lot of Marlins games because they were on at 4:00. So I was still keeping up with what was going on over there, because it's, even though I was somewhere else, you don't lose that. You don't lose the care for the organization that gave you the opportunity along the way. The thing I look back at the most, at least in like a disappointing way, is I wish I enjoyed it more. Like I loved playing, and I did enjoy it. But while you're in it, you're always looking forward to either the next season or the next game or the next outing, the next pitch, things like that. You don't really sit there and just look around and go, wow, like this is awesome. And looking back, or, just even being in the city of Miami and taking full opportunity of the stuff that the restaurants and the culture down there, I was just, and Geff, you can attest to this, I was so routine oriented that I was doing what I had to do 3 o'clock every day. I was, whether it was day 1, 2, 3, or 4 in between the start, I had a routine. I wasn't going to break it. And because that's the only way I knew how to be successful. So I do wish that I could have been the guy in the pool with my kids the day before I pitched and still went out there and had a great game. But to me, like I had to basically do the same thing every day, and it caused me to miss some opportunities in the city that I'll never get back as a player.
And you were a guy, you talk about being routine oriented. You also never took a day for granted. I remember talking to you one spring. You had back-to-back 30-start seasons, nearly 200 innings both years. You'd won 10-plus games both years. And I'm talking to you about your spot in the rotation. You said, hey, I'm not taking anything for granted. I don't have a spot in the rotation yet. I've got to earn it again. You never took anything for granted.
You couldn't. Like the one thing about, and it's maybe not so much anymore, but with the Marlins franchise, that you don't necessarily see other places is the instant success of a player, right? Miami, ever since you look back all the way to Dontrell, these guys come up and they dominate. So every fan and everybody expects every guy that comes up to do that. And then if they don't do it, I remember, DeSclafani coming up and him not having instant success like Jose did, and people thinking, well, why is that not happening? It's not. When I say Jose, I mean Fernandez.
Sure, we know. So first name basis.
just making sure. So to me, like, you got to always look over your shoulder a little bit, because you never know when a 20-year-old's going to get the keys to the franchise and put his foot on the gas and not stop. So I had to go in there every spring the same way. I could not take a breather because. I've had people ask me, like, why didn't you take games off if you were hurt and actually, like, not pitch through the stuff you did? And my honest answer is I wasn't good enough, right? Like, my best asset while I was there, which is something you don't really see in the game as much anymore, was to throw innings. Like, I needed to go out there, and if we had a short start the night before, I had to go throw my 7 innings no matter what happened. How many runs I gave up, it didn't matter. Like, I had to go throw those innings. So to me, it wasn't about my personal numbers as much as it was doing that job to help 1 or 2 days down the road.
As an 18th round draft pick, right? 18th round, so you probably have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder anyway. It's not easy for even. It seems like it's getting better or more success or in terms of the draft, like more first-round picks get to the big leagues. But it's always been kind of a crapshoot, the Major League Baseball draft compared to other sports. But when you're further down the list, when you're an 18th-round pick, and I'm kind of hearing some of this already with some of your previous answers, but you have to have that chip on your shoulder, because that's what the question, I guess, would be. Are you always that 18th round pick? Are you ever that comfortable big leaguer? Or are you always thinking, you know what, I got to grind every day?
I think the one time I got comfortable was when I got punched in the mouth and had my worst year in the big leagues. I think that was when I kind of let my guard down a little bit, and came into the season like, you know what, I'm in my second year of arbitration. I'm here. I'm on this team, and I lost that edge a little bit, and it took me going back to the minors and coming back to find that edge again. But the day I got drafted, I started the second game of the year for Jamestown, and then a guy who was a ninth round pick and was a reliever in college, they turned into a starter and they put me in the pen because of where I was drafted and the $1,000 bonus they gave me.
Right.
So I had to prove myself every time I took the ball. And that didn't stop along the way. I mean, I had a really good year in AA, and then it took me 2 full seasons to get called up after that. I won pitcher of the year in the Southern League and didn't get called up for 2 more seasons. So yeah, there was a constant have to prove yourself, and I didn't have a problem with that. It actually was easier for me to do that because I always felt like I had to compete in everything I did every day. So there was no opportunity for days off.
And that actually, Geff, you can attest to this too. Like, that kind of sounds like the mentality of what the Marlins are doing right now. We hear this all the time when we talk with people with the organization that, they want that feeling of competition on an everyday basis. If they are going to get where they want to get, where they hope to get, where I certainly think that they will get, and if more and more guys within an organization have that, if you will, what have you done for me lately kind of mentality, you're always going to be pushing yourself to get better.
And that's up and down the line now in the organization. The idea is, if you're playing in the outfield in the big leagues, you got to know there are 3 guys starting in the outfield in AAA who are coming for your job, and there are 3 guys in AA coming for their jobs, and 3 guys in high A ball all the way down the line. That's what they've really tried to build here.
But that's how it should be. I mean, the game didn't stop the day Babe Ruth took off his uniform, right? There's going to be somebody that's going to play. I mean, I guess you could say the game stopped when I retired, because clearly it couldn't last without me. Like, baseball's canceled right now. But you should have to compete. And to an extent, the best players should be on the field. Obviously, if that player is in A-ball, he needs his time to develop and show that he can do it, unless you just rip him out of a minor league spring training game and put him on a plane and start him the 3rd game of the major league season, and then he wins Rookie of the Year. Like, that stuff doesn't happen.
Right.
It did happen, but it doesn't happen.
It's the exception, not the norm.
Exactly. But you shouldn't be comfortable. I think it's not to get too deep here, but there's just a level of entitlement in everything now, right? And guys think that just because they're in the big leagues, they deserve to stay there. No, that's not the case. Like, there should be guys behind them pushing them, and guys should be fearful of losing their jobs if they struggle, because, you need to win games. You can only rebuild for so long. Like, you need to win. If you're not playing to win, then everybody's just wasting time.
We got a question, keeping it on Tom Koehler specific for now, on Twitter. It came from Fish Stripes. Wanted to know, what game or stretch of games did you feel like you were at your peak over the course of your career? Best balance of pure stuff and knowing how to use it. What was that period for you?
I would say in 2016, I had I think it was an eight start stretch. I want to say it was like right after the All-Star break. It was, I know the game that started. It was in Philadelphia, and I worked with Jeff Mathis every start for that stretch, and it was 8 straight quality starts. I didn't have a stretch like that before or after, and in 2016, it's funny because it also coincides with the first time I felt something in my shoulder. So in order to start those games, I was getting 2 hours of treatment before I could even go out and pitch, and I couldn't play catch in between starts more than 90 feet, but for some reason, every 5th day, I always said, like, if I can get to the bullpen mound, I can pitch that game, because like adrenaline will take over. So I would say that one for sure. Me and Jeff worked really well together over that stretch, and I guess it was almost like the Michael Jordan flu game, just over a longer period of time, because I knew I couldn't do too much, and I had to really stay in my delivery and work the sequences and trust that what we were doing were working. So it would be that. I think it was July into end of August.
One thing I was talking with Geff earlier that I think I want to make a thing is the anatomy of an arsenal. And whenever I talk to a pitcher, I want to see if there's a story behind a pitch or two. Hey, I learned this pitch from so-and-so, or I had to get this pitch because of that. If you think back to your arsenal of pitches, hopefully there's an interesting story in there about the fastball or the curveball or the slider that maybe helped get you to the big leagues.
Well, okay, I'll tell 2. So with my curveball, I learned it my freshman year of college. Freshman year, the pitching coach, he just says, hey, try doing this with the grip. I threw, and we were like, okay, that was it. And that was always my second best pitch. When I got to AA, I threw a curveball and a slider that kind of blended together in the minors. They took away my slider. My curveball got a lot better, and that became my pitch. To replace the slider, they taught me a cutter with the idea of the cutter becoming a true slider later on. So now I'm in the big leagues and I'm throwing a cutter, and I want to say 2/3 of my hits given up are on this cutter. So I'm throwing a bullpen, and Chuck Hernandez is the pitching coach at the time. He walks over and he's like, "Hey, ball chucker, come here. That pitch is dog balls. Dog balls, coach. We got to change it. We can't throw that anymore." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm in the big leagues. Like, I got a cutter." And he's like, "Yeah, well, you've given up 60 hits so far, and 50 of them have been on that." So we were in Arizona throwing a bullpen. He's showing me grips. I'm throwing sliders. First time ever. The next start, we're in San Francisco, and I'm 2-0 to Buster Posey. I'm like, "Hey, this seems like a really good time to throw that slider that I just learned in the bullpen 3 days ago in Arizona." And I throw it, and he fouls it straight back. So I'm 2-0, and then I end up getting him out. I walk back in the dugout, and I hear, "Hey, coach, what was that 2-0 pitch?" I'm like, "Slider." He goes, "Yeah, we're going to want to not do that again." So I wasn't allowed to throw it anymore that game until we worked on it in the pen. But from that point on, I guess the long-term play worked of teaching a cutter to eventually teach a slider.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I think
almost first time I threw it, I almost gave up a homer and never threw it again.
I think it's so fascinating because these are the Tom, you know this better than either of us, but these are the weapons that get you through those rough outings, or that get you to the big leagues, or get you that big contract, or whatever it is. And Tyler Kepner, who's with the New York Times, wrote a terrific book about basically the history of baseball through 10 pitches, right. And within that, there's so much there. So, well, I'm glad on my first try that you actually had something deep to get into. That was good. Made that question and theme look pretty good. So
there we go. That would have stunk to fall right flat on the face the first time.
Absolutely.
I got nothing for you. Hey, you mentioned the names of two teammates. I want to ask you about both of them. Jeff Mathis, maybe not as big a name as Jose Fernandez. You mentioned the fact that you work with Jeff Mathis a lot, and I know between starts you generally sit right next to him in the dugout when you weren't on the mound for those other 4 days. What impact did Jeff Mathis have on you in your career?
I don't know that I play as long as I did if I didn't have him as a teammate, and I honestly mean that. I mean, he'll tell you firsthand, like, he hasn't played 13 years or 14, whatever it is now in the big leagues, because he's a 200 hitter. You know, he can catch and he can teach you how to be a pro. I'm going to tell a story that he probably won't be happy that I'm sharing, but he's probably also not listening.
We've gone global, so don't be so sure.
Well, I don't know. I saw he's hitting golf balls in his barn right now, trying to get ready for the season. So, I had a start in Los Angeles in 2014 where I think I threw 112 pitches over 3 1/3. I didn't get hit. I was just walking guys, falling behind, really deep pitch count, and I was throwing a lot of like off count sliders. Which we're back to the slider again. And it wasn't a pitch that I ever threw for strikes. Like, my purpose of throwing that was try to generate a swing, get a guy to either swing and miss or have weak contact, right? Like, I wasn't looking to steal a strike. So basically, I guess to keep this to a story that I can share, we were in his room till 4 a.m. where he was demonstrating through graphics and charts of why I should never basically throw that pitch for, like, to try to get strikes in ball counts. Like, he was teaching me to know myself, to know which pitch out of the 4 pitches I threw I could throw for a strike, and not just a strike, but a good strike, and rank them. And it was just basically a long night for him to show me that never was the slider the answer. And then it coincided with that next bullpen. Chuck again, Hernandez, asked me what was Joe Frazier famous for, and I'm boxing. Like, Joe Frazier dates me a little bit, and he's like, he was known for his hook. This was before the analytics and where it was okay to throw 70% off speed pitches like now, because back then, like, if you did that, they thought you were scared.
Right.
But he was like, Joe Frazier, when in doubt, threw the hook. Whenever you're in doubt, throw your hook. We started naming it Frazier. And so, but yeah, Jeff, we sat we talked every game. We sat there and we tried to pick up things the pitcher was doing, or we were talking about game plans, or we were even he would analyze the guy catching behind the plate. But that guy, all he wanted was his teammates to succeed. And, I've been fortunate to play with a lot of good team guys. Prado's another one that comes to mind. But the game needs more guys like Mathis, where it's just genuinely cares about the people around him.
Yeah. What about Jose? You're one of the few people, maybe the only person, who was in uniform in that Marlins dugout for every game that Jose Fernandez pitched in the big leagues. You think back to Jose, what do you remember?
Just how talented he was and how easy the game was for him. And honestly, I think I tweeted something to you earlier, how like at first, we came up at the same time, and here I am, the 26-year-old rookie who has to fight every pitch I throw, and I'm watching this 20-year-old just go out there laughing, smiling, almost being aloof and just dominating everybody. And it wasn't anything he was doing. Like, I was just like, I was jealous. It's like, this is unbelievable. Like, I have to go run, lift, do all this just to even have a jersey. And this guy just can show up to the ballpark like he's in Little League and dominate everyone. And I just remember that game against the Indians where he struck out 14. And it was after he struck out 13 the start before against Pittsburgh. And I remember just sitting there with my feet up, and I'm like, I got to just enjoy this, because not a lot of people get to sit where I am right now and see this. But we became close over the years. It took a little bit, because I was older, and so we were kind of at different points in our lives. But he became a very good friend of mine, and he another one who just wanted to win. Like, he loved his grandma. He was really happy when she came over here, but he would knock her on the ground if it meant getting a win. There was nothing standing in his way. I just wish his whole clan traveled to every game on the road too, because I loved when he blew a kiss, and when he blew his kisses into the stands at home. It was like, I used to tell him, it was like a telenovela, like one of those Telemundo shows. Right? It started off smooth, then there was conflict, and there was fighting, and then he overcomes the conflicts, and there's romance. That's every start in Miami, and it was every single time. By the time it got to the 7th inning, it was kisses, and I'm like, man, we need the kisses on the road.
Speaking of romance, we have questions. I know that at 5:30 live, by the way, we're live. Anybody watching on a rear, about a half hour into this, Tom's got to go. You roasting a chicken, smoking a chicken?
Yeah, we're okay. I left some instructions for my wife about just the temperature stuff. Okay. So until I hear a knock on the door, I think I'm okay.
Okay. Actually, the very first fan question we got for you was from your wife.
Hence the romance segue. That was the romance segue. Ashley K on Twitter, when are you going to empty the dishwasher?
I did it after I saw her tweet that. We all have our roles, and that's one of the few household duties that I have is dishwasher patrol. But now that we're all home and the kids are home, we're going through a lot more stuff. So I was kind of accustomed to the one empty a day, right? But now it's kind of 2, and my hamstrings are getting burned from basically bending over and doing that. So I got to get better. Clearly, I got to make an adjustment, a little in-game adjustment to make sure that get the job done.
I've got one here, too. I'm going to throw it up on the screen. This is from JJ. Oh, JJ is one of our he's an announcer of many different sports over in England. He says, what are the baseballs in the frame behind you?
Those are just guys that I played against that I like the way they play. I got an Ichiro one down there a little bit.
He was pretty good. He was all right.
The core 4 Yankees, because I grew up a Yankee fan. But I think there's a lot of random ones in there, truthfully. I'll give you guys a little tour if you want. I don't know how to do this, but
we'll all figure it out together.
We don't know how to do it either, so we're all on the same boat.
I had to use I'm carrying my desktop now because I can't flip it around so you guys can see it. But I'll do a little Jersey show. Hopefully nobody knows where I live and they come rob me. We got Pedro over here. I want Pedro Expos just because even though I got it when I was in Miami, the Yankee or New York still lived on.
Of course.
I just could not do. Down here is Albert in the Cardinals.
Okay.
Ichiro.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm trying to find my face to see where okay. Mr. Barry.
All right.
I got that it took me until June to ask for that. And then I think that was the last conversation we had. I had to introduce myself to get it in June. You guys know who that guy is.
Yeah. Whatever happened to him?
That was pre-MVP.
Wow.
So I need to
fall low on Mike Trout.
He needs to update it and put all his stuff in there.
Yeah, 11-time MVP.
I got Tino while he was our hitting coach. Luckily, I got that one. I did. That one ended quick and abruptly. You see the one behind me? It's Nolan. Don't need to. I was sitting in my Marlins chair.
Nice.
Right now, you wore number 34. Was that for Nolan Ryan? Seeing the 34?
No, truthfully, my number was always 22 growing up. After Roger Clemens when he was in New York. And when I got called up, they gave me 34, and then they asked me if I wanted to switch going into the next season. But my mom bought a bunch of jerseys for my grandparents, and I was just I wasn't gonna make her go buy new jerseys again. And I was like, you know what? I was 22 in the minors. Let's try something new. Got a Stony Brook.
Oh yeah, Stony Brook. Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah, some more. That's the first jersey for my first start. Mariano, we got a bunch of bobbleheads. Got a bunch of bats. Ichiro 3000. Geff, did you get one of those? Did you get an Ichiro 3000 bat?
I did, as a matter of fact. I got it over here to my right.
Wow.
That's my. If I ever go really broke and I need to sell something, I can sell that for a fortune in Japan. They did a wide.
Calling is 3000 hit. One of the highlights of my career.
They did a little wives tackle box thing. And Ichiro sold for $32,000. And then the guy who came in second place was like, if you make me that same thing, I'll pay it. It was insane. It just it was two Japanese guys in the stands just battling back and forth. So there's only 90 of those bats. Forget it. Got Donnie up there. Got, Tony.
Yep.
That one I shared with you the other day. That was the jersey that I wore the game after everything went down and everybody signed it with all pictures underneath it, and then wrap around with Kirsch and the Hawk.
Wow.
Got a couple of guys a couple other ones that still need to be framed, but
some mini Cooperstown.
One that I didn't see is someone who has chimed in with a question here that, again, I'm going to put it up on the screen. M. Rojas Official, I don't know if you know this person. Are we going to talk about fantasy football is the question.
This guy, it's unbelievable. He rode the coattails of an American trainer to a championship. And now he's Matthew Berry.
I used to work with Matthew Berry. I had a fantasy baseball show at ESPN with him.
He was all he was good for that year was just nonstop trash talk through. He didn't even know what was going on. He's like, it says I have 4 left for play. He didn't even he had no idea what was going on, and they won. He wanted to draft Dan Marino. But now everybody's coming to him. He's the guru. That's what I mean. That's what's going on in today's day and age. You have a little bit of success, and everybody thinks you know everything.
We'll get Miggy on here one of these days to defend himself.
Right.
Did you see that? Did you see the video he posted yesterday with his hand, his magic hands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You weren't impressed by that?
No, I thought it was insane. The one he did behind the back, I have no idea how he did that.
And the video of his son doing the Jose Urena. I like that too.
Little boy Aaron.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey, Daniel on Twitter wanted to know who was your craziest Marlins teammate, and he says you can take the definition of crazy any way you see fit.
Oof. All right. Well, let's try to find one in a negative way and one in a positive way, like funny, great. That's a tough one. You know, I played with Zambrano, but we did get a sedated Zambrano.
But you said there was a story at City Field. Can you tell that story?
Yeah. No.
You can't tell that story? Okay.
No.
Not even good enough for the internet.
No. Let's just say that some fans started chirping at him, and I think there was a stretch where I think if Z didn't show up to the field, nobody would have known because he hadn't pitched for like a month in September when I was with him, and he just uncorked on this guy. It was great. The guy deserved it. Craziest. You know, Miggy's up there. Miggy's a sneaky character. He's now that he's in more of a leadership role and he's kind of the senior guy. You guys are seeing him more, but he's always been behind the scenes. Like he's a pretty funny guy. Ozuna in his own way was kind of crazy too. Not in a negative way, but just like just kind of out there. I'm trying to think. We didn't really have a lot of, snappers, guys who would just break their bats when getting out and things like that. Not that I can really think of. I'm trying to visualize people breaking stuff. Like I remember one time somebody threw stuff and it bounced and hit Ichiro, and that guy was scared for his life because we used to think that Ichiro had just guys with blow darts in the light tower just in case, just ready every time he did something. So I'm trying to remember who was on that team that would have thrown something and hit him, but we didn't really have a lot of crazy. We had some different, but not a lot of crazy.
Maybe it's better that way.
BDH on Twitter, kind of along the same lines, wants to know if there's a specific bullpen moment that stands out for you. Maybe something fun that happened in the bullpen over the years. Major leagues, minor leagues, anything you recall?
Well, the Zambrano thing, which I can't tell, was a good one. A lot of things happen down there. You're in your own little world. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in bullpens. When I was in Toronto, I was there, and it was just, the welcome to the big leagues moment for me though happened in the bullpen. It's like I remember being in Philadelphia, and you kind of sit underneath.
Yeah, I think we've just been picked up by a national network.
So,
nope, they hung up.
Not only are we doing this on Skype, but you still have a house phone.
Yeah, right? I keep telling my wife we don't need it anymore, but I don't know.
Apparently you do. Someone just called. So in Philadelphia, you sit on the bench underneath where nobody can see you. And then in the fifth inning, you come out and you start stretching. And once you take that jacket off, you feel like a zoo animal. Like you're just getting screamed at. It's like they're sitting there with just folders of info, just ready for the second you show your face, because they just bombard you. And this was in 2012, so this was still Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, their 5 starting pitchers. They were expecting to do special things, so the place was packed. It was like a real, okay, this is different than warming up in front of 5,000 people in New Orleans. Also, did you get some sponsorship dollars for that drink? Because you're no free ads. You're giving free ads every time you take a sip. You're showing the logo. Was that something they showed you on MLB Network when you were doing this stuff?
It should have been. But see, here's the thing: you just pulled the curtain. I'm smart enough to know that every time I'm thirsty for my seltzer water here, I cut to the screen where you're full. See, I'm learning this directing thing as we go.
Got it. See, I have no idea what.
I know, that's right. You're at a disadvantage here. But you're right,
Sponsorship and product placements, conversation for another day, though. We got to work on that.
We should. No, it's fine. It's fine. My next question, no. We did get here's one. When you talk about the bullpen and everything else, were you the type that liked, respected, hated the razzing while you're out in the bullpen? Like, when you say they had notebooks on you, like, did you find any of it actually funny, or were you the guy that like blocked it out?
I respected funny ones. I really did. Like, there'd be times, when you're as a starter, when you're warming up, they're just hovered. Nobody's at their seats, so they're just on you the whole time. I didn't like when people would, dig deep and pull your wife's name or your kids' names and things like that. Like, to me, there's no real reason for that, and it was easy to get mad. You probably shouldn't have. I didn't like that stuff, but if you pulled something funny, like I would like a nod or a chuckle, because there were some good ones. You go some places, they'll say some stuff and you're just like, I don't know where you got that from, but I'll laugh. You're human, like, you can't help it. But no, I did not. There were certain things I didn't like, but I wouldn't completely, tunnel vision block it out. I would hear it and I'd laugh at the good ones.
I know we've got to let you go pretty soon here. I've got one more baseball-related question for you. If you're healthy and you were in spring training this year trying to make a club or trying to get ready for the start of a season, as a starting pitcher, what do you think guys are doing or should be doing right now with this really strange delay upon us?
So I was thinking about this the other day. Personally for me, this would have caused me to be done probably whether or not I got hurt again in spring, because I couldn't have paused in the middle of my progression and started again. So I think about healthy guys, and the one thing that I dislike the most about development is going to be a positive right now. A lot of guys don't play catch with throwing partners anymore. They take their plyo balls, they throw them against the walls. So they really are not going to be in a disadvantage as far as keeping their arms in shape. You can't simulate pitching in a game. It doesn't matter how much you long toss or what you do mentally game plan. You cannot. That's the reason why, like, everybody works out in the off season, and then you come in and the first bullpen, everybody's like, man, I'm sore, because you just cannot get into baseball shape. It's completely different. So if I'm a guy right now, I think you either need to find somebody that lives near you, that kind of what their circle of people are, right? Because you cannot start just going and finding random people to play catch with and random catchers, because that's how this whole. But if you let's say you live in Jupiter and one of your teammates lives here, and you can still go out and play catch. Try to stick to your routine as much as possible. I mean, catchers are going to want to catch. Guys are going to want to hit. And you're going to be able to, hopefully soon, start expanding from the 10-person quota to the CDC and all that. But you got to stay mentally sharp. You got to stay locked in. Like, you cannot take it as a 2-week, I'm going to shut down, not throw, and then I'll start building up soon. Because none of these guys know when they're going to be expected back to work. They can get a phone call and it's like, all right, spring games start next week, and if you shut down, you're not getting back ready in time. So you have to continue just doing what you can. But you also, like, the one thing I hope guys won't do is use this as a crutch when the season starts.
Right.
To where it's like, oh, well, it's okay. Like, I'm not pitching well because, we spring training stopped halfway through, because everybody in the league is going through the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Some guys are going to have, some guys might have a house that has a cage or a mound in it and being a little bit more of an advantage, but everybody is kind of going through the same grind. So you have to find a way to stay sharp, and you have to just be creative. Everybody, when I was a kid, when I was going to play high school baseball, I didn't have a trainer that used to follow me around and do all that stuff, or an athletic trainer and a coach, but you still have to go out there and perform. Like, you got to go back to a little sandlot baseball. But you're going to have to stay locked in. Wouldn't be surprised if guys start playing MLB The Show and start pitching games as yourself against hitters too, working game plans.
Paul is available to call those games.
Yeah, I'll call those games. I'm actually thinking seriously very seriously debating calling a game on Thursday at about 4 o'clock, like Instagram living it or something. Yeah, just like do an open with a tie and everything.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. I'm all for this.
So far, you're the only one that said no, Tom.
I'm not saying that people won't tune in, but I am saying that when baseball starts up again and you and Holly are sitting there and you guys are talking and he's like in his little Fox Sports studio thing doing his like swing demos, the demo dance.
Right, yeah.
I told you I've been tuning in. I think it took me about 4 weeks of the season, a couple years when you guys joined up to figure out who was who.
Yeah,
talking.
And we're getting a lot of that.
Yeah,
we're getting a lot of that.
I've tried it now because one talks about like what the player is doing, and then you talk about like the pitch was thrown.
Right.
And he's like, "This is why." So it's basically you just try to figure it out that way.
Right. So we stay in our lanes. We try to stay in our lanes, and I've tried to maybe slow my pace down a little bit, and maybe try to go like an octave lower.
Could you imagine getting on a charter flight with all those guys knowing that you called an MLB This Show game? Like while they're getting their Chick-fil-A or they're having whatever it is they choose to have a sip of while they're getting on the plane, and you're walking on in the same tie that you called an MLB The Show. Like you're just asking to get. It's just
anytime we're waiting for the skipper to talk around like 4:15 every day, and Geff and I are waiting for Donnie to come out, and I grab like a piece of gum. He says, "Hey, it's for the players," and I say, "You know what, Geff? I wore a Minion costume. I can have some gum."
He was a rookie a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I saw
Times
that.
Square.
Yeah,
I don't know that I've ever seen media do it. So how did you get? Question for you. And ask the internet on you. How did you get roped in? Because it was like you were new to TV. You have been doing TV.
Right. It was from what my understanding is. It was between Miggy Rowe and Martin Prado were the two guys that I guess I had done enough and garnered enough respect for them from them throughout the year that they thought of me enough to kind of put me in that mix as a rookie, and I appreciated it. And I would tell you this, if we were not broadcasting a show, if we were just chit-chatting, I would say it was one of the coolest nights of my life, like being able to go on the player bus. And like people have always said like, oh, like why would you want to be a broadcaster and you travel and this, and I go, listen dude, I played high school baseball at a very low level. This being a broadcaster is my chance to be a major leaguer in whatever form it has taken. And that one night, I felt like a Major League Baseball player. And that's one night that I'll never give back.
I will say, though, for them to want to include you, you should be very happy about that.
Without question.
Right? It is not a negative. And a lot of people are probably sitting there going, oh, look, they took it, they used their platform or power to try to belittle him. And no. Like to be asked to go on that team bus and take part in what used to be a little bit more sacred of a tradition, because there has been some changes to what's allowed, but to be able to participate in that, like that's something you should be really proud of, because you don't see it a lot. You really don't. So
dude, I am, and I'll tell you this too. When Martin played what now we know is his final game last year in Philadelphia, was the last game of the season. I'm honest with you, I went up to him at the end of the year and I said, listen, thanks for always being available and thanks for always having something to say. And I said, I know that you were kind of behind the whole Minion thing last year. I said that's a night and an opportunity that I'll never forget, so thank you so much. So I don't take that for granted at all, and that's 100% honest. So
I would have rather have been a Minion. I had to dress up as a USA water polo player.
My only hope was because I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know what the outfit.
That was a Heath Bell production, wasn't it? I remember the Olympic team in 2012.
Yeah, there was like we were trending on Twitter. They actually thought the U.S. polo team was like running around Times Square, because we had to run plays and stuff like with balls and everything. But it's not comfortable sitting shirtless on a plane that has leather seats leaving Miami in that time of year, because you're just suctioned to the seat.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I look back at that day and that was one of the most fun nights I've had as a professional player.
Yeah. I didn't know what the outfit was going to be. My only hope was that it was going to be not shirtless. So I would much. I was. I was happy to see the tight overalls with a shirt as opposed to maybe loose pants without a shirt. You mentioned the You mentioned the Chick-fil-A. It was the end of the season. There was a lot of Chick-fil-A to be had. So, all right. I think. Go ahead.
I do think like one of the things that makes me want to get back in the game, maybe faster, is getting on that flight and having Chick-fil-A waiting for you. Because,
not on Sundays.
Not on Sundays.
No, but once you experience that, like getting on a regular plane and them not handing you like copious amounts of Chick-fil-A is just it's such a letdown.
Yeah.
So enjoy it. Do not take those Chick-fil-A sandwiches for granted because they will be gone one day.
Speaking of chicken, professional segue right there. We're going to let you run.
Yeah, it's at 147 degrees, so I got to get
you get out of here.
I got to get in the oven to get the skin crispy.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Tommy, this was great, man. Thank you, buddy.
I appreciate it. When the season does start, I'm going to try to come to a game, maybe sit like a fan and have a beer. They still have the Miami Brewing Company in the outfield?
They've got
the Biscayne Bay Brewing Company this year moving into the ballpark.
Yeah.
Whole new setup.
That'll work.
Be great.
That'll work, yeah.
Different vantage point.
If it's cold and it's wet, that'll work.
Go check it out from a different vantage point. But it's been fun, guys. Good luck with the rest of the shows, and thank you for entertaining people in a time where people need to be entertained.
Doing our best, man. And thanks for helping us do that.
Do I hit this red phone now?
I'm going to hang up on you in just a second. You can if you'd like, but I would see what happens.
I want to hang up on you.
You want to hang up? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want you to hang up on me.
Okay, that's fine.
Bye.
Hang up. Bye.
Thank you. Well, that was great stuff with Tom Koehler. And I mentioned it at the beginning. He was a guy who, from the day he got to the big leagues, was easy to root for. He's an 18th round draft pick coming out of New York. New Rochelle is where he grew up. Didn't play in South Florida or in California, where you play 30, 40, 50 high school games a year and travel ball and all that stuff. A small college guy, 18th round pick, who, as we discussed, really had to earn everything he got in the minor leagues, in the major leagues, had to fight to stay here. So it was fun to watch him at the success that he had over the course of his time with the Marlins, and very disappointed to see things end the way they did for Tom the last couple of years with the shoulder issues. But it sounds like he's got a great perspective on everything, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Tom Koehler, whether it's in a major league front office or in a broadcast booth or working for the Players Association, doing something like that. I think he's a guy you can count on staying involved in the game moving forward.
Right, and I'm sure you're right that maybe it didn't end exactly the way he would have wanted it to, but one thing that I thought was kind of cool in doubling back and looking at his career, and it might be a minor thing, I don't know. We kept him for long enough, so I didn't have time to ask him, but he struck out the first batter he faced. He struck out the last batter he faced. They actually struck out the last three batters he faced. So
it's a good way to go out.
Yeah, good way to kind of come full circle. So, all right, that was awesome. Thanks again to Tom Koehler. You had a question of the day, so let's go back to that and see if we have some responses for that.
We ought to be in the middle of the NCAA tournament right now. So our question of the day today was, what all-time Marlins player would you like to have seen suit up for your favorite college basketball team? And we got a lot of responses. There are a couple of guys currently wearing Marlins uniforms,
right,
who have a little bit of basketball experience. The Marlins brought in the Rule 5 pitcher Sterling Sharp this year from the Nationals organization. Sterling Sharp is a guy who was a heck of a high school basketball player growing up in Michigan. And I know there's a little bit of video out there that maybe we stumbled upon of Sterling Sharp playing some basketball. Fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm rolling it in right now as I continue to direct my heart out. He's jumping over guys. He's doing windmill dunks. There was another one, too, that you pointed out as well. Monte Harrison is another one. We had found a rip of his dunks. I mean, listen, his brother is in the NBA, for goodness sake, so you know that athletics running the family there.
And we had, not that long ago, our opening day starter in 2008 was Mark Hendrickson, big 6'9" left-hander, who only got into professional baseball after he had been a 4-year player at Washington State, was a 2-time All-Pac-10 player there, averaged about 14 points a game for his career, about 9 rebounds a game. Right. And he went on to play parts of 4 seasons in the NBA also. So he was the number 1 pick of most fans who responded to the question of the day today. A lot of Mark Hendrickson support, not a name that I think many Marlins fans have thought of a lot in recent years, but he was the opening day starter back in 2008, not that long ago. A lot of support for Big Derek Lee. Giancarlo Stanton, who was a very accomplished high school basketball player, got some support. John Roush wasn't a Marlin for long, but at 6'11", you can see why people were thinking along those lines. What about you? Is there anybody who comes to mind immediately who, in a Marlins uniform over the years, could have played college basketball?
I had a different perspective on this, right? So, for me, the first thing you think of the NCAA tournament is the Final Four and great moments and who has great tournaments and championship runs and maybe has great careers beyond that. And I think Michael Jordan, right, and how great he was at North Carolina. And I'm thinking, who would a Michael Jordan be throughout Marlins history? And I don't know how he would be on the basketball court necessarily, but just like the all-everything guy, Miguel Cabrera would be a guy that I think that when he came up and was 19 years old and the home runs and the run in 2003 that he was such a big part of, I went with Miguel Cabrera. What about you?
Not a bad shot. I thought back actually to a period in this franchise's history right about the time I got here in 2008 where it was as though we had a basketball starting 5 in the starting rotation. And I mentioned Mark Hendrickson was the opening day starter, but he was 6'9". You had Chris Volstad at 6'8" in that rotation. At some point that year, Sean West at 6'8" came up. Rick Vandenherk, who I think was 6'6", was in that rotation. Josh Johnson was in that rotation. So that team won a lot of games, 80-plus, and finished in second place in the National League East, but they might have won some basketball games, too, back in 2008.
And maybe the Marlins are putting something together that's maybe not basketball, but football. I was at camp in Jupiter a few weeks back, and MLB Network was doing their 30 clubs in 30 days, and I bumped into the guys that were doing the program that day, and Mark DeRosa stopped me, and he said, "Dude, are they putting together a football team right now?" He goes, "No matter where you look, everybody's 6'5", 240. And
they can all run.
Yes.
And they've all got great athleticism, and that's what they've been building over the course of the last couple of years, trying to bring in the Monte Harrison type athletes.
Right.
And they figure if you can play shortstop, we can move you to third base or move you to second base. If you can play center field, we can put you in right field or left field. But that's where that athleticism comes in, and you're seeing it at the big league level and all the way down the line in the minors now.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's pretty good. I would like to stay below an hour if possible, leave the fans wanting more if we could do that. So, again, let's tidy up some of our business. Marlins Rewind is coming up in just mere moments on 940 Wins, some classic games. It was a game from Milwaukee, right, you said earlier?
June 4th last year, the 11-run inning, the biggest inning in club history.
Okay, and that's going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6. Fox Sports Florida, my friends on the TV side, they've been re-airing games the last week or so and will continue to do so. And they've added another element of a live tweeting thing from some of us on the TV broadcast side of things. So we're going to be I'm going to be live tweeting on Thursday's game from in Chicago in May, John Birdie's first home run, and then another call for a Sev Geff live logo contest. Geff.
That's right.
One more call.
Great responses. We've gotten to this point more than a dozen responses with some great-looking logos, and they've actually come from overseas. We've heard from England already, where we got some great stuff. So yeah, we've got a couple more days where we're taking logos. If you have a suggestion for a Sev Geff live logo, send it
rolls
our way.
Right off the tongue, doesn't it?
It does roll right off the tongue. And if we pick your logo to be our logo to use on the screen, to use on Twitter, to use in the press releases and on the mugs and the T-shirts and the hats that are going to come out of all this, then we're going to give you 4 tickets to opening day at Marlins Park. You'll be our guest on opening day, whenever that may be, if we choose your logo.
Awesome. All right. We do not have a time set for our next show, but there, I think, will be a next show. So stay tuned to @SevGeff Live on Twitter, my timeline, @Severino MLB, Geff's timeline, @Glenn Geffner, and we'll keep you up to speed on when episode 4 will be. But, Geff, this was fun. Episode 3 was fantastic. And, again, one more thanks to Tom Koehler.
He was terrific. It was fun catching up with Tom. And next time we come back, whenever it is, have another great guest for you.
Yeah, hope so. All right, thanks everybody for joining, watching us live, watching us on replay, whatever it might be. We appreciate the support, and we'll keep it coming, all right? Sev Geff Live saying bye-bye.